Welcome, dear friends. Today I will tell you a compelling story of courage and redemption, where true heroism was rewarded with the sweetest gift of love. Enjoy the story. It was a sight to behold on that lonely dirt road. A sleek Italian sports car, caked in mud, its usually pristine paint job now a disheveled mess. But it was nothing compared to the three trust fund brats standing beside it, looking every bit the worse for wear after their wild night of partying. Chad Winthrop III and his frat bros Brad Stanton and Kyle Davenport had been whooping it up at a trendy downtown nightclub, blowing through daddy's money like it was Monopoly cash. Bottle service, VIP room, the works. But why call it a night when a hot little after-hours soiree beckoned from the countryside? "Forget sleep, dudes, the night is young," Chad had proclaimed, pounding another shot of premium vodka. Into the Maserati they piled, peeling out in a spray of gravel as they embarked on their next misadventure. 2 blown-out tires later, here they were, marooned in the middle of nowhere. Even with the Ivy League economics degrees they were half-heartedly pursuing, basic math told them they were short on cash for the tow truck after their lavish evening. No way were they calling the rents for a bailout. "Guess we're hitching it back to town, boys," Chad declared with a dramatic sigh, running a hand through his expensively cut blonde hair. "Gotta get cleaned up before we summon the tow truck cavalry. Can't be looking like something the cat dragged in." Hitchhiking. Such a foreign concept for the young masters of the universe. They stuck out their well-manicured thumbs and waited impatiently, grumbling about the indignity of it all. At last, their salvation arrived in the unlikely form of a public bus rumbling down the road. The guys leapt up, flailing their arms and hooting obnoxiously, until the driver pulled cautiously to a stop. The doors creaked open to reveal a woman at the wheel, her face obscured by a colorful headscarf. "Well, hello there, darlin'," Chad drawled, stumbling aboard with his snickering cronies. "Ain't you a sight for sore eyes?" He tossed a few crumpled bills in the general direction of the fare box, not bothering to count them. "Welcome aboard," the driver replied evenly. "Please find a seat and keep the noise down. It's early still for some of the other passengers." Other passengers? The drunken trio glanced around and spotted a few bleary-eyed commuters scattered about. Early shift workers mainly, the kind of people who actually used public transportation. Brad and Kyle exchanged mocking looks. "Aye, aye, Captain." Chad gave a sloppy salute as they collapsed into seats at the rear of the bus. "Just wake us when we get to the country club, would you, Toots?" The driver's grip tightened on the steering wheel at the dismissive remark. She'd endured her share of rich punk attitudes over the years, ferrying them back and forth from their fancy academies and upscale enclaves. It was all she could do to keep her professional composure sometimes. Anna Novak, that was her name, age 32, though the weariness in her eyes added a decade some days. A single mother, she'd been driving this route for nearly 5 years now, saving every spare penny to give her young daughter a better life. The pay was modest, the hours long, but Anna attacked the job with the same tireless work ethic she applied to everything. As the bus trundled on, the guys grew louder and more obnoxious, trading crass jokes peppered with profanities. The other passengers shifted uncomfortably, shooting Anna sympathetic looks in the rearview mirror. She cleared her throat pointedly. "Gentlemen, please," Anna said, her voice strained but steady. "I must again ask you to keep it down and watch your language. Consider it a courtesy to everyone on board." The three erupted into raucous laughter. "Ooh," the lady bus driver said, "please." Kyle smirked. "Well, since you asked so nicely." He reached up and gave Anna's headscarf a sharp tug. "Why don't you ditch the babushka, baby? Let's see what you're hiding under there." Anna's hand flew to her head, keeping the scarf in place, her cheeks flushed with anger and humiliation. If they only knew the pain she concealed beneath that carefully arranged cloth. The jagged scar from hairline to jaw, a permanent reminder of the day she'd risked everything to save a life. It had been almost a year since the accident. Anna was driving her route when a speeding car flew off the embankment in front of her and burst into flames. Without hesitation, she pulled over and ran to the burning vehicle. The driver was unconscious, trapped inside. Anna smashed the window and dragged the man out just as the car exploded, her face seared by the blast. The excruciating recovery was a blur. Skin grafts, surgeries, therapy. The one thing Anna would always remember was the name of the man whose life she'd saved, whispered to her by the paramedics. Dean Davenport. But he'd disappeared after that, lost to the fog of his own injuries, she presumed. Just another tragic thread woven into the fabric of Anna's life. Now these spoiled brats, so like the reckless fool she'd rescued, repaying her quiet heroism with cruelty and scorn. Something in Anna snapped. She slammed on the brakes, bringing the bus to a lurching halt. In one swift motion, Anna tore off her headscarf and whirled around to face her tormentors. The scar blazed lividly against her pale skin. "Enough!" Anna shouted, her voice shaking with fury. She grabbed the fire extinguisher mounted behind her seat and advanced down the aisle. "You will get off my bus this instant, or heaven help me!" The guys gaped at her, shock sobering them up quick. They stumbled over each other to comply, nearly falling down the steps in their haste to escape the avenging Valkyrie in a bus driver's uniform. Anna stood in the doorway, extinguisher poised, as they tumbled out onto the dusty roadside. The bus passengers erupted into applause. Some even cheered, but Anna felt no triumph, only a bone-deep exhaustion. She was about to pull away and leave the sniveling trio to their fate when a sleek black car pulled up beside them. A tall, imposing figure stepped out, fury etched on his aristocratic features. "Chad Robert Winthrop III," the man roared. "What in God's name do you think you're doing?" It was Dean Davenport, Chad's older brother and the polished heir apparent to the Davenport business dynasty. He bore little resemblance to the broken man Anna had pulled from the wreckage a year ago. This Dean was all cool confidence and ruthless authority, his Savile Row suit impeccably tailored, his dark hair slicked back. "Bro, it's not what it looks," Chad began, but Dean silenced him with a glare that could freeze lava. "It looks like you've been acting like a complete ass, little brother, an entitled, spoiled disgrace of an ass." He turned his icy gaze on Brad and Kyle. "And I see you've roped your idiot sidekicks into your reign of terror as well." As Dean dressed down the quaking trio, movement at the bus door caught his eye. He glanced over, and his heart seized in his chest. It was her, the angel who had pulled him from the inferno, the face he saw in his dreams, in the haunting flashbacks that had tormented him for months. How could he have forgotten her? The trauma, the doctors had said. The mind protecting itself. But she'd been there all along, his fierce savior, indelibly seared into his memory. "It's you," Dean whispered, taking a halting step toward the bus. "My God, it's really you." Anna stared back at him, her eyes wide with recognition and disbelief. The jigsaw pieces of that fateful day clicked into place. Dean Davenport, the man she'd saved. Here. Now. "I never got to thank you," Dean said hoarsely, moving closer still. "You risked everything for me. I'm so sorry I couldn't remember until now." He reached out a tentative hand to touch her scarred cheek. Anna flinched reflexively, but didn't pull away. The connection between them was electric, undeniable. "You saved my life," Dean murmured. "How can I ever repay that debt?" Tears sprang to Anna's eyes. She'd never expected to see this man again, let alone have him gaze at her with such raw emotion, such gratitude. "There's no debt," she managed to say around the lump in her throat. "I did what anyone would do." "No, you did what no one else could or would do. You're a hero, Anna." He caressed her name like a prayer. Behind them, the bus passengers watched the scene unfold with bated breath. You could hear a pin drop. Even Chad and his cronies were stunned into silence, their jaws practically scraping the pavement. Dean seemed to remember himself then, the tender moment broken by the awareness of their gawking audience. He straightened up and cleared his throat. "Gentlemen," he said, not taking his eyes off Anna, "I believe you owe this extraordinary woman an apology. And then you're going to march your sorry selves back home and think long and hard about the kind of men you want to be, the kind she'd be proud to have saved." Thoroughly chastened, the three slunk forward and mumbled their apologies, unable to meet Anna's eyes. She accepted with a regal nod, still too overwhelmed to speak. With that, Dean took her hand and helped her down from the bus, his touch gentle and steadying. "May I give you a ride home?" he asked softly. "I believe we have some catching up to do." And so, as the bus passengers clapped and cheered, Dean led Anna to his car, ready to embark on a journey far more profound than a simple ride home. A journey of healing, redemption, and perhaps, if they dared to dream it, love. 1 year later. The Davenport estate was all decked out in white, a fairy tale come to life. Guests dressed in their finery milled about the sprawling gardens, sipping champagne and marveling at the romantic scene. At the center of it all stood the radiant bride and groom, their eyes only for each other. Anna was resplendent in a flowing gown, Dean dashing in his tailored tux. The scar on her face had faded, but the love in his eyes had only grown. They exchanged their vows on that perfect June day, their unlikely path to each other making the moment all the more precious. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. Even Chad, standing up as best man, got a little misty. The cocky frat boy was a changed man these days, humbled and inspired by the incredible woman his brother had married. Oh, he still had his moments. Old habits died hard. But he was trying, growing, and whenever he or his friends slipped back into their entitled ways, all it took was a glimpse of Anna's quiet strength, her indomitable spirit, to set them straight again. She was a constant reminder of what really mattered in this life. As Dean and Anna shared their first dance as husband and wife, the love between them shone like a beacon, bright enough to light the darkest of nights. Theirs was a love born of courage, compassion, and the kind of selfless heroism that changes lives. And to think, it all began on a fateful bus ride, when two worlds collided and two hearts found their home. A billionaire and a bus driver, brought together by a twist of destiny and the power of the human spirit. It was the stuff of fairy tales, of Hollywood endings. But for Dean and Anna, it was just the beginning of their happily ever after.